Have we got a deal for you? Just today, one time only, close now. It's totally free. We're not charging you for this, understand? But only today. Well, actually, it's always been free, so there's nothing special about this. The typical catch cry of consumerism. Getting quick, getting fast, buy now. And we're going to explore consumerism on this post-Thanksgiving Day, which is, of course, known as Black Friday in the US. And we'll get into this a little bit more. Stick around. Episode 105. Two chaps, many comments. So he wasn't even ready for me to finish. That's how quick we wanted your non-money.
that was me, the hobby director producer. Hit the intro too soon. I didn't know that. Thought you were done. Sorry about that.
I was. I really should have been. I should have given it up long time ago. But here we are. Yes.
It's free. It is free. Free only. Get it now while it lasts. This deal is so hot. You need it right now.
Absolutely. And you may miss out. FOMO, remember? FOMO.
Oh, yeah.
Fear of missing out, which may play a part in this conversation as we go forward. But what are we going to talk about with consumerism, sir? And on this storied day of deals. Deals. Well, I thought about this a little bit, and I was going through my newsletter list, and I was ready to program a newsletter that I've done in the past years. And I was about to send out a newsletter to my list about, hey, it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, deals. And I didn't do it. And there's many reasons, there's personal reasons, but I didn't do it mainly because this year it doesn't feel right. Sometimes it doesn't feel right to me at all because I come from a different culture that looks at consumption a little different than the US does. However, I do come from a culture that is also quite consumerist and retail therapy and go get it now and deal, sale. But somehow it didn't feel right this year because I wonder, and I'm curious to see the returns when they come in next week, how much money was actually spent this weekend, today, and over the course of the weekend. I've been taking a much more critical approach to consumption, but that may just be me. How do you feel about this? Well, I look at it at two levels, and I've had some experience in some countries where I've seen the growth of consumerism in real time. Having visited China over a period of a number of years, and that's a very quick adoption of consumerism, one might say. And although China, it's kind of a bit of a misnomer with China. People think that's it is a huge part of the economy, but it's still only on a macro level represents half of what the contribution of the consumer economy is to the GDP here in the US. So it's kind of said that really there's a lot of wealth in China now, and that's what's spending the money. But really deep down, there's still this investment in outside of the country and so on that's going on. But down to the core level, I think that I grew up with certainly, we went shopping. But it was much more structured. There seemed to be a family outing. You went shopping one night of a week. The shops closed at 5 o'clock, and on Thursday you had late night shopping. You would go out and then there was anything that represented anything like Black Friday was Boxing Day, the day after Christmas.
Yeah, 26th December, right? Yeah.
And people would line up at like crazy hours of the morning to go in. So it's kind of always been around. I'm talking, and I did that. I did that once and swore never to do it again. So. And as a retailer, like I've been a retailer too, and I have actually been in this country, I've been fined by the shopping center owners for not opening my store according, it's some crazy like 1 o'clock in the morning, because I said there is no way I'm going to put
my staff in a store at 1 o'clock in the morning just to satisfy the clients that are going to come in. So that's a kind of, that, I guess that kind of tips into a bit of a moralistic stand. Not a moralistic stand, but it's just my values and saying this is how I want to treat my employees. But, I still bristle at it a day after Thanksgiving, where we give so much thanks for what we've got. And then we go out to get more stuff that we, what's the old saying? We spend money we don't have to go and buy stuff we don't need to impress people we don't like.
Yeah, there's probably some truth to this. Now, and I mean, this topic goes basically at the core of our economic system, which is based on consuming, on demand and supply, and on capitalism, right? Whether it is the unencumbered, mostly unregulated capitalism we see in the United States, or whether it is the capitalism we see in other so-called Western nations, where there is a free flow of goods and services and free access to it, and where the continuous demand by the consumer is actually driving production, is creating value in a sense. So we can discuss, and I'm not an economist, we can discuss this until the cows come home, where does a healthy consumption end, and where do we enter the terrain of really bad overconsumption, of spending our resources way past the allotment that we have on this planet. And that's in a time when we are discussing there's a pandemic, we have a global economy. The pandemic that we're experiencing now may very well be enabled or caused by the excess that we see through the global economy. And Fridays for Future, some of you might remember, where young people took to the streets before they had to stay at home and wear masks. But the climate change isn't going away, so all of these factors play into this. So how much consumption is actually good for us, and where can we as individuals draw the line, and how do different value systems, how do different cultural predispositions affect that? So for me, the first time I came to the United States from Central Europe, I was surprised at the huge amount of consumption options that I had. Right, there was much more on display. There was much more being offered to me and asking for my money, and to me, that was a new experience. And many first-time visitors to the United States to this day, I think, feel that way, because there is, compared to what they see or what they have available in their native markets, there's quite an overwhelm of consumption offering here in North America. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think what struck me coming to this country, even though, and people still struggle with this today, when you come to a new country, you're often confronted by the boundaries that are put in place, or the hurdles that are put in place by not having credit history here. So it affects, forgetting borrowing money, but it affects how to get housing and just renting and things like this, getting a cell phone, getting electricity on, right? Mm. But what I found here, but I always comfort these people, and I say, look, it won't be long before in your mailbox pretty soon turns up these free offers of credit. And quite soon after being here, after a few months, I started to receive these, literally being offered thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of unsecured credit to go out and spend it on whatever I wanted to do, with no guarantee that I was ever going to pay it back, because these people were just throwing money at me. Yes, it was it was a pretty high rate, but I think people, this is I guess if there's one thing about the pandemic, it has shown that there's much more, people are actually saving more money now. So, but how long will that last, right? Now, does that mean that it would necessarily go away? The ease of access to credit kind of put people in a lot of bind, right? There's a lot of kind of superficial success that can come with that, where people are really stretched to the hilt. Whereas people come from cultures and they say, well, you know, they were brought up either without access to credit at all, didn't have the ability to borrow money, therefore they had to save their money to pay cash, or it was just not, it was fairly new. So when they come to the US, they're confronted by it almost is enticing, this abundance of a honey pot that you can dip your fingers into.
Well, and it feeds into this promise of the U.S. being a promised land for many, the land of opportunity and abundance. And I think having grown up in Germany during a time when there were two parts of Germany, one with a completely different political and economic system than the other, and then having experienced the two countries being reunited and finding ways to reconcile the two different pasts into a common future, it became this, well, capitalism won the Cold War, defeated socialism and communism. That's the narrative. However, now we're in 2020. We're 30 years after the fall of the Iron Curtain, after the end of history, as some said back then, and we find ourselves in a world that may recognize or may have to come to terms with the fact that our resources are in fact limited, and that we do need to find a way to make sure that future generations are still able to make a living and have the resources on this planet to go about their day, right? So I'm a bit skeptical how much uncontrolled and unregulated capitalism and this consumer-driven economy, demand, I want to buy, I need to buy, hey, here's a deal, get this now while it's hot. I'm not sure how sustainable that is, but that's me, that's my opinion, that's how I approach this topic. And I do find myself looking back and being quote-unquote guilty as charged. I did go out on a Black Friday, maybe even in the wee hours of the morning of a Black Friday, just to be the first in line, because there was the promise of a certain product that I wanted to have at that special deal. I've been through that.
Yeah.
And did it make me any happier? I don't know. In hindsight, questionable.
Yeah, that little rush of adrenaline, right? Patricia, as always, here. Thank you again. Happy and safe holiday weekend to you, Patricia. Thank you again for joining. Not doing Black Friday deals, and giving again. You know, gathering global friends on Zoom, right? This is, and I spent the whole morning doing this. It was fantastic, by the way, just a little aside. 600 students from around the world presenting on their observations of intercultural learning and that kind of thing that they've been going through. Gives you a lot of hope. These young'uns are learning, my friend. They're learning. And 2020 should be a year to minimize materially and increase community engagement and empathy. Amen to that. And again, the virtual world has reduced expenses as well as the wants. Nowhere to go, no one to impress. But I'm thinking of opening up a store that just sells the tops of suits. And I mean, like as a package, you know, the shirt, the tie, and that kind of thing, with maybe matching pajama pants. I don't know, maybe we might give that. I think there's a whole new market in that.
While I tend to agree with Patricia for now, I think regardless of how our business conduct will evolve through the rest of the year and into 2021, I think human ingenuity and our innovative abilities will lead us to create new sorts of services and products that will allow us to impress people virtually, digitally, in many other ways. I came across an article just this morning about the Zoom on steroids version, which companies might embrace. There's a concept out that's called, I believe, Square, where you have a fixed screen, a big flat screen in your dedicated workspace at home or wherever that may be, and with multiple cameras built in, and you create the illusion of having a co-office with somebody else. I'll find the link and I'll post it. It's scary good. And the new next shiny object, while none of us will probably need it, there might be some genius marketer creating a demand for it. So this not impressing anyone, I'm sure humanity will find a way to boost somebody's ego and create a desire to be better, more beautiful, more productive than others, right? So
right.
That's not going to go away.
You see the coding though in the messaging, right? The marketing, I think, is already taking place. Like they're taking a step back and saying, if you don't use all these wonderful whiz-bang tools, by the way, I'm a sucker for this stuff, so I know I'm like ripe for the picking for some smart marketer that comes along. I'll try the latest tool. Yeah, this dude. But you know, the messaging is you need to provide the very best in the virtual experience for your clients and your customers, and so therefore, without this tool, you're going to be boring and you're not going to be able to compete with your fellow colleagues that do the same job. You see this stuff happening all the time, and while I'm all for, you know, making it a really good experience for my clients and that kind of stuff, I did this stuff like a year ago and before this, you know, and I thought I was pretty good at it. I still think I'm pretty good at it. That's kind of, you know, it sounds egotistical, but it actually really, you know, are we going to forget, just like we do when we buy too much stuff to satisfy our own needs, are we going to actually forget the people we're actually trying to serve? And in this case, the people we're trying to love, and to your point, the planet we're trying to look after.
Mm. Remember, yesterday we talked about thankfulness, gratitude. So as you become aware of the things you're happy about and grateful for, it may dawn on you that this shiny object that seems so attractive, you may not actually need it. Maybe you do want it, and maybe you are going to get it. I'm not going to judge you for it. I might just get me something today or tomorrow because I might need it. Literally, our dishwasher broke down. So, hey, we might need a replacement gadget. All right, so be it. Yeah. Hey, you want to see my hands? I've been Thanksgiving dishwashing. That was me, right? All right. Well,
absolutely.
But that I think there's a difference between something that we truly need or that will improve our day-to-day because it's something that will make our lives better or more enjoyable or make a workload more bearable. And then there is the unnecessary stuff that's being hawked and dangled in front of our faces like a carrot. So it's the mindfulness that comes with being grateful may hopefully carry over the weekend, so you remember what you're grateful for and think about, is this something that I truly need, or is this something that I only want, as Brett said, to impress the people that I don't really care all that much about?
That's right. And remember, Giving Tuesday, isn't it? It's Giving Tuesday seems to be like tacked onto the end of this because there's Black Friday, there's Small Business Saturday. Is that now, or is that another time of the year? But Monday is like the online, right? They promote that as online Black Friday. And then on Tuesday, we decide after all that, if we've got any money left after blowing it on everything else, we might give it to other people that are a little bit in, you know, again, I'm being sarcastic because I see that as back to front. You know, why isn't it giving on Friday? Like, we give thanks and then tomorrow we give to other people who might need a bit of a leg up in society. And then if we've got stuff left over, hey, you know, you deserve it. People work hard, and we get that. But it is what it is, you know.
I also want to remind you, if your billfold is really itching to get out of your back pocket or your purse or wherever you keep your money, if your credit cards are burning up in your wallet, by all means, go ahead and spend like crazy. Keep one thing in mind, though. As you're responding to marketing, ask yourself who's doing the marketing, who's doing the messaging. Oftentimes, it's those with the deep pockets. So since it might be Small Business Saturday, I don't know, Brett said it was, so blame him if it's not true. But, as you're thinking about this, there's ways you can support the economy by shopping local. Every dollar you spend in your community stays in the community if you don't shop with the big boxes and the megalomaniac conglomerates. And I believe I'm a strong proponent of that, because I come from a family of small business owners, that you can support small business even without spending a dime if you don't want to. You can like their social media profiles. You can tell a friend about their impeccable product or service. Like, you could tell your friends how great this show is. You tell everybody how awesome Brett and Christian are, and you could get on our newsletters. You could write a comment in the comment box on any of the social media profiles. None of this will cost you a penny. It may cost you a little bit of time. However, it will float our recognition on the interwebs and maybe lead to a customer for us that does not buy from us because they feel like they want it and they want to impress somebody. No, because they recognize that many of us provide actual value. So selling and marketing in and by itself are not bad. So if you got the impression that this is my position, then nope, that's not what I meant to say. But as you consume, maybe consume mindfully. That's my bottom line for today.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Absolutely. Meantime, good weekend ahead. This is episode 105. Just keeps on rolling on. And what do you got planned for the weekend? So after, I guess you've just had a day off, you'd probably be working. You should be working. If you...
You mean, did you just call me lazy? Is that what happened?
No, not at all. I'm just, I'm just passing a comment.
I shall be working. There's work to do, right? There's value to generate.
There's value to do.
And there's family also. There's going to be some family time.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not just the holiday time in this. It may be the holiday in this country, but the rest of the world is still ticking along.
Yes, sir.
For us globally connected people. So by the way, I take the Australian holidays and the US holidays, all of them.
And the Polish ones too.
Oh yeah, the Polish ones definitely. Yeah,
I thought so. I thought.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing of having a cross-cultural family too. You get to take them all. And they don't cost you a cent if you take it. All right, my friend, thank you very much. Have a wonderful
weekend, everybody.
And we will be back next Monday, all being equal, to see you again with another topic. Bye now.
Bye now.